My name is Manoj and today's session is mostly, you can say, that we will confine to the common mistakes that we have observed during our test series. The reason precisely I can say that we are more involved directly in copy correction and all. So whatever things we have observed over a period of time that we will discuss, and then certainly some of the do's and don'ts. I will not try to make more, or I will not give more suggestions sort of thing, because suggestion doesn't work in this type of examination, particularly for civil services. Rather, I will focus on few aspects related to answer writing. What are the standard things that we should do, we should follow while attempting any question, whether it is 1, 2, 3. Will not touch essay, because that we will do separately. Now, if you see last year's cutoff, in comparison to 2014 and 15, the jump is almost 100 marks. While in 2014-15, it was almost 678, 76. This time it jumped to 102 marks. Now the first thing what I want to convey, that we should not draw much inference out of it. We should not. Because this year, UPSC is very generous to so many things. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But then we should not draw much inferences, because we don't know the kind of treatment of question and then evaluation it is going to make on you can say 28th of October this year, 4 months 2017. The reason I tell you that UPSC's glory is not in transparency. UPSC's glory in uncertainty. The more uncertain, more relevant. And so, to survive, to remain relevant, UPSC has to be uncertain. There cannot be any threat. Otherwise, you see that whatever logic UPSC gives not to give your copy, there is no valid reason. You cannot find valid reason that you are not able to see your copy just to improve yourself. This is as simple. I have attempted one main examination, and then I just want to see my copy. But then UPSC doesn't allow. So leave it about the transparency, and so we should not talk about this. So uncertainty is this. Now, when I say that UPSC's glory in the whole to make the whole process uncertain, this uncertainty moves around as far as question is concerned. I will not go into the interview aspects also, because this is not the right time to discuss. Otherwise, without taking name, I know 2% from this place itself, especially two girls who scored 440 plus in written examination, despite the fact that they failed to qualify. 840 plus in written examination, still could not finally recommended, because one girl was in Saxena SAPS board, so she scored 104 and one scored 106. So let's not talk about that. Fine. But so we will focus entirely on main examination. Let's see. So when I say that this examination is uncertain, and then UPSC's uncertainty, so the whole uncertainty moves around two things. Number one, dimension. Often you will see that whether you read paper 1, 2, 3, 4, but all of a sudden when you see any question in examination hall, and then you realize we have read so many things, but that particular dimension we have missed. Otherwise we have read almost all the things, but that particular dimension. And second aspect is related to design. So obviously you will see that UPSC's uncertainty moves or makes you uncomfortable because of these two things. When I say design, design simply means representation of syllabus, configuration of marks. 25 question, 20 question. Sometimes it appears that they have asked only 10 question or 10 questions in paper 4, but actually when you count, you start option 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, you end up by 22, 23, 24. Usually. So, on configuration of mark, representation of syllabus in the sense that sometimes it may happen that you have focused a lot about in paper 3 on economy or any other area, but what UPSC will do, reduce some of the areas and increase internal security. Why internal security? Because we hardly bother about the internal security. Most of the time we are focused about Indian economy. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm coming to the main point. So whenever you make a strategy to cover these next 4 months, you should take care of these two things. That you don't have to be selective, not at all. There is nothing called trend, what I'm trying to say. And then when I say that configuration of marks and design, it means, simply means, try to explore the possibilities. You expand the possibilities of the syllabus. So the first thing that you have to do, we'll make it, this session we are going to make it very brief, because visually it seems that very matured crowd, and then I should not waste your time. Your time is more precious than ours. So here, what you have to do, UPSC syllabus is indicative, you have to make it illustrative. Little bit left, little bit right of the topic. You can do it, but it's a little bit time consuming process. So what we did, we have already done this work on behalf of you. So we have tried to explain or enlist the subtopics of paper 1, 2, 3, 4, and very, very detailed exhaustive list we have already compiled. So this is one thing. At the last, we have also compiled some, you can say, a list of 500 contemporary issues that obviously we are going to cover in QIP also. So it's there. So almost your first job is done. Now allow me to move to the next thing. Now the second part of is about answer writing. When we say good answer, or some of the candidate when scored, like let's say 130 in paper 1, 160 in essay, then obviously we have a question, a valid question, that what ultimately they used to write to score 158 in essay, 125 or 113 in paper 30 in paper 4 and something. So generally our focus is more about how to write. Generally we tend to how to write. Whether we should write in paragraph, whether we should write in bullet format or whatever it is. But how comes later? First comes what to write ultimately. So when we say what to write simply means how much grip you have over the syllabus. Different dimensions, key points, key ideas, etc. Because you see, almost everybody is reading the same stuff, almost. But when it comes to the marks, there is a difference of 20 marks, 30 marks, 40 marks, 50. And then 30, 40, 50 marks is enough to either make you in, middle, top, or outside. So when we say what to write, this begins with our self-study. How do we prepare? Again, I am saying you never ever try to guess this examination. This is a worthless exercise. We, you can say, coaching institute to an extent is also responsible for that when we try to predict anything on behalf of UPSC. That is a very dangerous trend. So always try to explore the possibilities, and my whole exercise is going to be this what to write. What to write in the sense, your ideas, your grip, your understanding or concepts, dimension, whether it is geography, history, whatever it is. Now, there are only three possibilities. When we read, we try to focus more on current affairs, concept. So often we discuss current affairs padhe, kab ka padhe, whether we have to read 3 months before the examination, 6 months before the examination, or 1 year examination, doesn't do such foolish act. 90 degree, 180 degree, whatever we talk about current affairs and what, that we have realized in this year PT examination. Fine. So there are only three possibilities to frame the question. Only three possibilities. Either concept, either the question, or another possibilities, either question is more towards context. Fine. Third possibility is concept plus context. Only three possibilities are there to frame any question, whether you call it current affairs or whatever you call it. But to frame question, there could be three. Now, UPSC could go here, etc. Now, after this, so whenever you are going through any study material or any topic or subtopic, take care of these things. And simultaneously, club what we have discussed previously, design and dimension. Fine. Now, I'm giving you example. Let's take example of the easiest topic in the syllabus, which is resources. Probably hardly we care about the resources in the practical terms also. Otherwise, it's a very easy topic. Resources, water resources, mineral resources, marine resources, so many things are there. So let's suppose now I have to frame a question which could bring a surprise element for you. Little bit. I want to test how much depth you have over the topic or the subject. So let's begin with resource. I remind you, I'm not trying to guess anything, rather I'm just saying that how you have to utilize your next 4 months, what should be approach to self-study. What should be your approach to self-study? How to improve the output when you are on the table. That's it. So resources, there are so many resources, let's say water resources, mineral, marine resources, so many things. Now, in mineral resources, let's move to strategic minerals. First surprise element, that we are not talking about the general, or you can say mineral per se, rather now the first I'm trying to narrow down at the strategic minerals. Now when we say strategic minerals, there are no specific definition of it, rather this word was used during the First World War by the American Army, when they have realized that there are certain minerals for which we have to be much dependent on import and which is going to be very crucial in the future. And so we need to have some strategy to procure, to use, to strategic tie-up and so many things. Fine. So first, while doing or framing a question, I reached here, and then finally I am framing a question or resource nationalism. The moment you reach to resource nationalism, now your panic starts. यार ये क्या पूछ दिया आपने इसमें? Because once you go through NCERT, coaching material, whatever, hardly you have enough content to deal with. Now you see that across the world, conflict over the resources is going on. When we say resource nationalism, it simply means either people or governments assert over the resources. So you will see there are conflicts across the world. It is going on. And because of that, there are so many different strategies, policies has been designed, adopted. Let's take it South Africa, Ghana, Zimbabwe. So there are different policies now related to different resources. Now the moment we reached here, I will frame a question, either current affairs, we'll take example of Africa, we can take example of Africa itself, or India's and China's rivalry there to procure resources. We can link with globalization, how globalization, technology transfer, funds, etc. at the one side makes it possible to procure the resources, at the same time give rise to many other conflicts. Now, why it happens? Now you see, in the whole process of reading and the content procurement, when you are involved in inputs, drawing the inputs, neither NCERT nor coaching material nor precise any article is directly available to you this topic. It means whatever you have to do in the examination, you have to think that particular point itself. Socho, draw the map, and whatever you can write, you have to write it. If you don't know, you have to write a very general answer. If you know, you have to be little bit more precise. So this is one example which is related to concept also, which is related to either context also, or you can say concept, context, दोनों को मिला के भी हम question frame कर सकते हैं. Same is the case with the, you can say, take example of one context. The context is that when Donald Trump says that, okay, America should move again to the mining and the coal mining because precisely we want to generate more jobs, etc. Now, there is a dichotomy. Here in India also, at the one point of time, you can say that we are trying to push for the renewable energy through solar mission and so many things. At the second day, news comes that Adani reaches to the Queensland for approximately 25 billion coal procurement deal. Now, in this context, again, coal mines, coal in the sense renewable versus non-renewable can be question related to the policy, and so what I'm trying to say is what you have to do here. You just take this booklet or whatever syllabus you follow, you just start my takeaway first, that you start drawing the mind map, basic concepts, what are the key concept, context related to this. Why I'm telling you that the next 4 months, when you have to reach to you can say the 10 or 15 days before the examination, you must have a very thin note that you can easily go through paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More revision, more structured point here, more better, or you can say the better possibility to attempt question. Now, while doing so, instead of writing more and more that you have to do, there is no other option. But my suggestion is, while doing this exercise, try to frame question. Because when you write too many answers or you attempt answers, whether through the text series or anything, what you do? Basically, you try to recall the inputs. But when you are involved in framing the question, at the same time, you are started thinking the dimensions also. You are thinking the dimensions. कि ये भी possibility है, ये भी possibilities है, ये भी possibilities है. And then actually you are in a better position to understand the syllabus. So this is one. Now, I am coming to this part now. How to write? I will not take more than 5 minutes now. Dr. Piyush is here, so he will speak on certain aspects. Now, when we say how to write, in a sense, what is a good answer? Exactly, we don't know. We don't know what is the marking criteria of UPSC. It's very easy to stand on the podium and then say anything you wish. But then exactly nobody knows what is the way, how they used to correct the copy. But one thing that I have noticed personally after this result, like many candidates are there, Dinesh is there, 9th rank Mohanty is there, Malika Soher is 26th rank, 29th. So precisely what I did, that I just tried to gather all the copies and just I wanted to see ultimately what are the common things and what are the uncommon things when they write. So believe me, my understanding, if I have to zero in, only one thing you can say that was very common among the top 100, you can say the 15-20 students, the copies that I have gone through, that they are very, very particular, precise and direct. If you go, all the copies are uploaded on the website of GSSO, that is ISSO.in. If you go and compare, don't see any copy in isolation, that will not serve the purpose. But if you compare, then you will see that sometimes I tell you that copy of 9th rank and Gautam's copy, you will see identical, 90% same. So it does not mean that UPSC, what again I am saying, I don't know, but then one inference we can draw, that our answers should be very, very focused, directed, not a single word, or you can say there should not be any wastage of words. I'm coming back to. So when we say how to write, in a sense, good answer. Good answer consists of 3 things. Number 1, information. Number 2, articulation. Number 3, objectivity. So any answer, whether you write in paper 1, 2, 3, 4, optional, any answer will move in and around these 3 things only. Now, as far as orientation, structure is concerned, this may change according to the instruction which is given along with the question. Whether illustrate, whether explain, analyze, that we have again done. So I will not discuss here. Rather, this is a page that I have compiled for you, that all the 13, 14 instructions are here. Analyze, assess, compare, critique, describe, discuss, evaluate, etc. Now here comes the case of orientation and originality. Now I take away number 2, that often you ask whether we have to write in bullet point, whether we have to write in paragraph format, etc. Doesn't matter at all, believe me. Dimensions are very, very important. So the most important thing that you have to take care, that how much dimension you have to consider while writing any question. But in the whole process of writing an answer, you try to make yourself a little bit original. Original, when I say, it does not mean you have to bring anything from Mars or Jupiter. Rather, your approach should be, I tell you one thing, we have already ethics answer writing session, so I am not discussing here. But while correcting the copies, I have observed that almost only 5 gentlemen happen to be in the history you people generally quote. Mahatma Gandhi, Ambedkar, Vivekanand, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, etc. Now I generally, in every test series, I deliberately give 1 or 2 questions to attempt that kind of question. You don't require to read too much. Don't require to read too much. I give you just one example of it. In the previous year test, I designed one question, and the question was very simple. That can ethics solve problem of poverty and hunger? It was a very simple question. Can ethics solve a problem of... Now interestingly, you see that more than 99% candidates, they almost say, without at least 1 or 2 exception, everybody wrote by abusing the government. That yes, but the problem is corruption, red tapeism, politician, etc. I don't want to say whether right or wrong, but my question is different. When I say that why everybody is writing the same answer, it means reading is, you are more inclined to reading than the reflection. You have to think simultaneously when you go through any text, notes. And when reflection lacks, then your answer becomes more mechanical. This is why I wanted to say. So this is what you have to do. Precisely. So this is what I wanted to say. My last point, if you ask me that one common and the biggest mistake that candidates are doing while attempting the test series, what is my observation? I will say the answers are flat. When I say answers are flat, it simply means most of the time candidates are inclined to explain the key ideas rather than analyzing it, rather than filling the undercurrent of the question. Maybe because of paucity of time, because you have to write every 6-7 minutes one question, another question, another question. But one thing is fine. So you don't have to write the flat question, answer. Rather try to see it. Start with introduction. At least in the test series, you should do it. What will happen, we'll see on 28th of October while writing but at least while practicing. Right here, give a proper structure, conclude. Now, conclusion is also very, very important. It depends upon the instruction of the question. If question carries critically analyze, then believe me, without conclusion, your answer cannot be considered complete. So there are, you can say, you have to focus on these small things, very, very small things. You can say, not much is required. So by final thing, number 1, go through syllabus. Try to draw mind map, as many dimensions as possible you are trying to look. Try to give it a context also. If you can, try to connect with the current affairs, and then simultaneously try to frame questions also. So ignite your mind. If you are able to understand, or little bit you can say, if you attempt to grip the syllabus, it's little bit possible, you can say, to minimize the uncertainty. Why? I give you one example. This second booklet, you say, open page number 38. Go to page number 38. Question number 7. Question number 7. Now, interestingly, you see that one question, this is a compare what we did last year and then from the UPSC. I'm not trying to claim anything, rather we have claimed already. But what I'm trying to emphasize, that it is very much possible. See, one question that we have designed in our test series, 3rd April, and then the same question of UPSC ever. It's a 99% same. It's a 99% same, the way we have designed and the way UPSC designed. And then what I'm trying to say, you people can do much better than us, believe me. Much better than us, because we are not riding so wide. जो subject मुझे पढ़ाना उतना पढ़ता हूँ. But what you people have to do, right from Harappan civilization to space X, what left? बचा क्या? भाई हड़प्पन civilization से लेके space X तक तो सब पढ़ ही रहे हो ना, तो बचा क्या मुझे ये बताओ? What has been left? What more information you want to procure? And this is the reason that I am not going to discuss so many questions. Rather, Dr. Piyush will discuss, and that is why I am limiting myself. And I am limiting to this, just number one, try to frame question at the same time when you try to attempt more and more answer, or going for, try to make notes which is very, very slick and can give you opportunity to revise 10 times before main examination. Don't make any bulky strategy here. Try to focus at this point of time on optional subjects, because that is a little bit bulky. And then make paper 1, 2, 3, one pocket, and within this bracket of 750 marks, try to create small pockets. Instead of going for paper 2 or paper 3 at large, try to initiate for internal security, disaster management, agriculture, IR. Because if you design in this way, every 3 days, 4 days, you will complete a part of syllabus, and then you will feel that, okay, fine, I am moving, and you will feel more confident that now it's possible for me to complete the syllabus. So instead of going for paper 1, 2, 3, create a small pocket. Globalization, 1 day or 2 day globalization. My globalization is done. Economic geography, go, come out in 2 days, my economic geography is done. You will feel immense confident ki, okay, fine, I am moving, and precisely in, let's say, 2.5 months I can do it, paper 1, 2, 3. Because last month you have to keep for revision, more writing, more revision, etc. So this is all about what I wanted to say. Take care of the design, you can create also. Take care of concept, take care of context, and then take care of concept, context, relation. Thank you very much. Now I request Dr. Piyush to share his views on.
Good afternoon to all of you. As sir has given you good insight, now I'll mainly focus on 2 aspects. The first thing that what are the common mistakes we do when we start writing, and generally we don't understand it as a mistake. That's become a normal habit because of, you can say, the circumstances, or you can say the pressure in examination hall. And in fact, I would say the way we are in the race of procuring more and more information. Although I would say that a lot of informations are there, but most of the time what we do, that we write a very journalistic answer. So first thing I would like to discuss here, the way most of the time what we write our answer. As the first thing, very general answer. Now what is very general answer? So general answer, it simply means that general arguments are there which could be easily, you can say, created even at the time in the examination hall, and that actually comes first in our mind. So my first suggestion is, to certain extent, is this: don't write general answers, because most of the question are specifically designed, And if the general understanding about that subject is coming, so I won't say give much time to that, but at least think once before writing. Normally what we do, we got the question and we start writing. Rather than giving just even 20-50 seconds, we okay, this is connected with this topic and we continue to write. This is one of the biggest mistake what I believe. Normally we don't even read questions carefully. And okay, we identify the word, like suppose we are writing paper to identify the word judicial review, judicial activism, judicial overstepping, and we identify these words. Okay, now we don't care what the other words are included in the question, and we keep on discussing those ideas. I mean, this was the most common mistake in every answers. Like they keep on writing whatever the first word that come in your mind and they started there. Look, definitely I do understand the time is less, but still one should read your question carefully, because if it has been done, then definitely you can avoid general answer to certain extent. Now, the second important thing, that we read the things in form of information. Now, lot of information there. How these informations are connected to each other, this is one of the most important exercise we generally avoid or we don't do, basically. That connectivity. And specifically in paper 2 I can say, because the way of preparation is more or less what we say PT oriented. So Lakshmikant, Didi Basu or whatever, we continue to mug up. But how these things are connected to the political system, we generally avoid. This is the second mistake I would say that one should not do. Like if you have a lot of facts or if you have a lot of information, try to connect all the information. And actually these all informations are well fit in a particular political system, or you can take the example of Indian political system. So information, just ask single question to yourself only, why this information? What is the utility of this? Where it is numbers or particular event or what? So you will realize that this event, this particular number is also saying something. Maybe talking about something decline, maybe talking about something has increased, maybe talking about some new trend has been introduced. So the data in itself is actually connected to a particular idea or a holistic idea. So don't focus much on just procuring information in isolation. Try to connect all the information what you have. And whenever you write your answer, as I said, to move from generalized answer to a specific answer, one should need this connectivity. Once this connectivity will be there, then you are landing on the direction. Okay, now I am specifically targeting with the data, with the facts, this is a specific answer is there. Now, the third important thing, that in our answers, we cover only one aspect most of the time. I do say that some students definitely cover the other aspect, but as one aspect you know a lot, maybe about the political aspect of the anything, maybe the economic aspect of anything, maybe the strategic part of anything. So what we do, suppose we have to write one paragraph or point wise, most of the information will be tilted in a one direction. Again, this should not be there. If you know the economic aspect, political aspect, and even the strategic aspect or other aspect. So the multidimensional way of writing, that should be there. Maybe you know 5 information related to the economic aspect and 2 information related to the political aspect. I would suggest that rather than writing the 5, write 3 or 2 and just make it in form of ratio. This is the second thing which is very much important to make your answer, I would say, specific, not become a very much generalized answer. As I said, that the first idea what comes in your mind, you continue to write. Now, what other things to be avoided? This is very important for paper 2. Innovation, it must be avoided. I repeat my word. Innovation in paper 2 must be avoided. Because sometimes, as sir say, question like this resource nationalism is there. Sometimes we find such questions where, innovation comes automatically. Again, in UPSC, there is no space for innovation. I mean, definitely one should be innovative, but once after coming in the service. Before the service, avoid these innovations. Go with the patterned way. I mean, whatever the available theories, way of understanding popular concepts are there, write in that way. No innovation is required. Second important thing, again I would say, is specifically for the social issues, for paper 2 is highly personalized ideas. Highly personalized ideas and views. This has to be avoided. Again, it is not necessarily that belongs to you. That could belong to any big scholar also. It could be belong to any big scholar, maybe a big journalist or maybe a big writer. But again, here this is all about, you can say, understanding, specific understanding about the system, about the policies, about their criticism. I always give the examples like in Indian Express, The Hindu, a lot of extremist articles are there written by many professors, maybe scholars. I would specifically say from JNU side, you can find that. I myself belong to JNU basically. So point is, these extremist idea cannot be written in your examination. Maybe criticism of foreign policy is there. So extremely criticism, and after reading those articles, it seems to be this entire Indian foreign policy is actually bullshit. Nothing is there. I mean, go through the Happy Mohan Jacobs article. It seems to be like this. So these are highly personalized idea. Don't procure such ideas. You need to go for a medium path, or you can say a balanced idea. This is one of the most important aspect of writing answer. In paper 2, I believe that availability of the material is a problem. In fact, if there is less material, you can write it easy. But in paper 2, the availability of the material in form of articles, in form of different books is a major problem. So avoid, control, regulate yourself. Don't use your innovations and the personalized idea of the rest. That you can set a direction for writing paper 2. Now here I would say simply I will discuss here some specific aspect of question how to write. Sir has identified what is considered to be a good answer. Now when you say good answer, one of the important component of this good answer is objectivity. Now the question is that how this objectivity comes? How can you identify that your answer is objective? Now here I would suggest something. When you say this objectivity comes, as I said, from concepts. Now these concepts again should be popularly or well accepted concept. It is not based on somebody else, or you can say highly personalized idea, or what you understand or what few people understand. Only the well accepted arguments or concepts are accepted. Maybe every time there are a few person who contradicts the idea, that doesn't mean that this is the mainstream idea. This is one of the important things to maintain objectivity. Now the second aspect is basically facts. This is the second important thing which maintain the objectivity. But this fact must not be without context. If you know the facts, that doesn't mean write it without context. This fact should be there, but again you should always have the context, then only you can bring objectivity to your answer. Again here I would like to discuss a question from paper 2. Now few things about this paper 2. One should understand, in paper 2 three aspects are there, three parts are there. First you can find the polity section, the second is governance, and third is IR. In polity section one should understand there is a one aspect that is related to purely constitution and legal part. So there are a lot of questions focused on that area. If the question is based on that idea, so don't try to write in you can say in general discussion way. I'll give one example. I guess 2 years or 3 years back there was one question that right to environment. There was one question, right to what is right to environment. The second part of the question was that can government of India ban firecracking? This was the question. I guess it was in mains 2013 or 14 examination. Now this question, from this question you can understand what is generalized answer. You simply write that okay, right to environment is considered to be very important fundamental right. This line is not required. Directly write that it is a part of Article 21 and from which judgment it has been made the part of the Article 21. And then right to environment is important because nowadays environmental balance or ecological balance are very important to maintain, you can say, condition. Nothing required. Understand, paper 2 is more or less legal in nature. One aspect is more or less legal in nature. Try to write your answer around that legality. So the first aspect of the answer should be purely the judgment of the case, related to which article is there, and if you can mention 2-3 important judgments and specific theory, it has been narrated in that. For example, in MC Mehta case, this right was recognized, and in which in that particular case only the theory of public doctrine has been given basically. So just name that. It is part of the right to know. Now, coming to the second part, whether the government of India can regulate the firecrackers in India. Now, the issue was that because the firecrackers was emerging as a major threat to the environment. So here, rather than writing one paragraph, how crackers are destroying the environment, you should be more focused the question, what is saying, whether it could be banned or not. Now, whether it could be banned or not, it should not be the area of argument. One is supporting and one is opposing. First, what is the constitutional and legal position on that? What is the constitutional and legal position on that? Here I would say that you can find anything like from Article 25 to 28 somewhere, okay, in public interest for maintaining public health, if government of India can regulate any practices. You can narrate directly, okay, from this idea it could be narrated. You can give further examples. For example, you can find use of mics was by a judgment for the prayers has been regulated. You can give that particular example. Now, the third aspect of the answer, whether government of India is doing anything in direction. So here you can talk about in policy form. The third aspect is policy form. No, government of India is not planning to ban firecrackers, but through the awareness program, trying to create or trying to regulate the firecrackers. So what are the regulation, what are the awareness programs they have introduced? You can talk about, they put a limit of time. After 10 firecrackers should not be used. They, through the ad programs, they try to convince to the people we should celebrate Diwali by distributing sweets. And some awareness program related to don't hurt the animals has been raised. You can find that this advertisement was released by the government in all newspaper and TV channels. This is the part of the policy of the government, that they are by creating awareness trying to address such questions. Now, in the entire question, there is nothing based on personal discussion or idea, whether it should be banned or not. We are not talking about India is a highly cultural society, diverse society, lot of festivals are there. No need to talk. The answer should be very much directed, well directed to the legal aspect. It should be very much directed to the constitutional aspect. If the question is based on the policy arrangements, so the policy arrangements should also be addressed in this one. So, entire argument is that whenever you are maintaining objectivity, it simply means that you are going in the direction. Again, I would say, and one question I will take from the internal security area. Here I will focus on the other way. Normally, this is a newly evolved area and hardly 1 or 2 questions are there. So the approach is more or less a general reading about internal security. Last time they had a question, policy of hot pursuit in internal security. Again, because it is an avoided area, so general understanding of the this internal security area is there. I am just making a sketch how one can prepare for the internal security. The first important question, first important aspect, or I believe that questions could be framed around the idea of threat, or you can say the problem. Because we are talking about the internal security, they can take the issue of nationalism, they can take the issue of terrorism. So that is the core idea of the threat. Now, this is a very change in this source of threat, or you can say about the problem, is the changing trend. This is the most important aspect. Of internal security, that all recognize traditional and non-traditional threats are changing their trends. They are changing their trends. I'll give one example. We consider terrorism as a major threat. So those terrorist organizations operating inside the country. So you can easily talk about how they are threat. What about those terrorist organizations not operating in the country and far away? And it seems to be it is difficult for them also to strike down in India. What kind of impact they can produce on the society? I'll referring a question. What is the impact of ISIS on India? This question has, I guess this question has been already asked. So ISIS is not operating in India. Technically, there is no information till date that India has been analyzed as a target for this one. Still, we believe that it is one of the major threats. So how this become a trend? This is what the changing trend. You can identify clubbing with the idea now radicalization in general is happening in the society. Around the idea of radicalization, this has been framed. Okay, I'm going further to it. In most of the visits by Indian officials to the West Asian country, they enter into the agreement to stop terrorism, cooperation on terrorism. Again, you cannot find this trend with any of the West Asian countries just before 5 years. Go through all the data. You cannot find a single agreement of cooperation on terrorism between either India, Iran, India, Saudi Arabia. Israel is different case, but in rest of the cases, you cannot find such trends. But now, these all countries started entering into the cooperation in the field of terrorism. Look, these trends are changing trends, and this is something happening new. So I believe this area is a very crucial area, because the questions could be focused on the changing trend, and you have a lot of information about trend. You know what is the cause, what is the impact, how it happens, but this changing trend is missing, and it might be the focal area of the next question. Now, in internal security only, after this, the second aspect, normally what we do in our preparing, that we prepare in form of cause, impact. That is a very general way, and everybody prepare it in a cause and impact form. Here I would say that if whatever the cause you identify, if you can provide the factual data, then that particular cause gain the objectivity. Otherwise, the general causes could be written and it cannot be denied that it is a wrong cause. But to make it a specific cause, look, you can find for a particular incident there could be a lot of causes, but there are primary causes which could be easily backed by data. So whenever you write, okay, this is what the cause, and if you write the factual information, that actually increase the objectivity about what you are saying basically. So the factual information is one of the important context of this. Third important aspect you can find, we generally avoid. We know about the forces, but what are the structural mechanism? What are the structural mechanism we have? I repeat, what are the structural mechanism we have, or the government of India have to handle the internal security threats? So information about those mechanism or structure is must. We know the name of different agencies, but how these agencies has been specifically designed and trained to handle those internal security conditions, we never study that. I would say that go for that. Okay, this is another point where you can go for value addition or advanced studies. Now, one more thing I would like to share here. In general, again there is a new trend in this mechanism. Earlier, internal security matters are more or less confined to the union government. If you remember, last year, Maharashtra was the first government to pass a bill related to the internal security. And when we talk about what are the issues in internal security, and we identify the issue of cooperation between union and state is always there. Now, go for those structures which combine union and state to counter such terrorist activity. You can find this area is a new one where the government, where the questions could be made or procured. So this is something new in structure to handle. Available structure was there. Now this is something new in changing structure to handle the internal security. And the last thing I would say, in case of internal security only, what should be the approach? I mean, what is the Indian approach to handle the internal security? Now, approach of Government of India to handle the internal security, by different problems of internal security, that approach can gradually is changing. I am taking again the issue of terrorism. Why this last time policy of hot pursuit was there? That was the indication of the change of policy to handle the terrorism. And the question was mainly asked in form of changing trends of Indian policy to handle the terrorism. If you make this title and now read the question of the policy of hot pursuit, now you can read it well. But when you write your answer, in policy matters you can talk about, okay, entering into the territory of other and going for surgical strike is a new change in the, you can say, in the Indian approach. But this is just one aspect. You need to go along with this thing which was not much, you can say, highlighted. For example, you can talk about putting pressure over Pakistan, you can say, through the negotiations. Specifically, Indus Water Treaty was that, if you remember the famous, Prime Minister's famous statement, blood and water cannot flow together. So we never did earlier it, but it was the first time we tried to twist the arm of Pakistan by saying this statement, we can negotiate the treaty. The similar thing, if you remember, Nawaz Sharif used the name of Wani in a speech in United Nations. So our Prime Minister continued to talk about the Pakhtunistan and Baluchistan as idea. Now what I am saying, it's a changing trend in terms of policy to handle the terrorism. Earlier it was more inward policy, consolidating security and surveillance on the border region. Now we are moving beyond. That's a policy change. Now the one of the aspect of the policy was the policy of hot pursuit. One, I would say here, when such new things come, try to identify the legality of that. Rarely people talk about that the policy of hot pursuit are internationally allowed or not allowed. So again, if you read, you can find that yes, it is allowed, but only in the water areas. If you are crossing the territorial water of your own and entering into the territorial and exclusive economic zone of the other, you can follow the policy. But when it comes to the land area, it is not possible. Look, I am giving the examples how when you prepare, you skip this area easily, and we prepare these topics which is more or less avoided in a general way. My idea is that whenever you provide, prepare such topics, make a great frame. I make a frame basically. Okay, problem. Then you can talk about cause and effect, a lot of facts are there. On what basis you can say this problem is there, what are the causes backed by the facts. Then talk about the structure of the government basically to handle such problems. What is the policy till date? Is there any change in the policy to handle this? These are the way to study. I mean, in general way you all study. But if you divide it in different parts, it will enrich you to write your answer correctly. One thing I would like to say here also, that is from the world history. Normally we avoid this area also. In general, few NCRTs and maybe this master series we study about the modern world history. I would simply suggest that there are few critical areas of the world history which actually make a major change. That should be in the primary in the list. I am not saying the entire syllabus is not important. That should be primary in the list, because we say there is one question from that area, so whether you should prepare or not. But I would say that there are few important aspects of this world history that should be prepared properly. For example, this industrial revolution, because it has transformed the entire world. Now led to the industrial revolution, you can find the colonization. This topic has been given later on. But definitely colonization, imperialism and colonialism was another important topic which has transformed the world. Now, going for this one, unification of Germany has become very much important. Apart from these three revolutions which actually introduce a new system in this world. When American Revolution happened, introduced the republicanism and democracy to the world. When it come to the French Revolution, it talked about the equality and completely ended the privileges. So these revolutions are systems basically. These revolutions are system basically. So try to prepare those areas which make a broader transformation in the system. And the third important aspect, I would say that while preparing World War, rather than preparing in terms of impact, try to identify that how the World War has changed the global structure. And when it comes to the responsibility, try to identify that who are responsible, and can we consider only one country to be responsible. Even I guess 2015 there was one question, Germany could be held responsible for the 2 wars. So normally we continue to write yes, Germany is responsible for holding the 2 wars. So try to understand in, again I would say, objective manner, facts. If you go for the cause and facts, then you can find no, it was not the reason, and lot of other things are there. Before that they had a question on Suez Canal. I believe that this area, the West Asia, is a new upcoming area. Crisis in, you can say, Europe is another major area. Disintegration led to a new politics in Central Asia. These are the new areas. Whenever you study this area, don't study these things in form of information or events. Again, my suggestion is the same one. Try to understand in form of a structure and identify that paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, their orientation is all different. Their orientation is all different. Somewhere orientation is more legal, somewhere orientation is more systemic. Then sometimes some papers are more focused on the, you can say, new trends or new areas. So you need to identify these are the areas and prepare it well. Look, there is less time. You all have studied everything. You need to, I would say, go for a, what we say, rearrange and delete exercise rather than studying something new. I believe that you all have studied all these things. You need to go for delete and rearranging the things what you have in your mind. It's not all about going for a new information. It's more or less evaluating what you have in your mind. That should be the way, I believe, to handle this GS portion. Last thing, when it comes to writing, language is very important too. At least you should be able to identify the answer you have written, whether this answer is for paper 1 or paper 2 or paper 3. Sometimes language is more or less very general and simple. If you are writing a polity answer, so technical words, I would say the legal words should reflect. And again I would say, where these legal words, please read ARC. For every aspect you can find the legal terms 2, 3 has been given. Need not to go for mugging all glossaries, but at least 2, 3 legal terms, so you can differentiate on the basis of language. And even you can find, okay, this is the answer of social issue, this is the answer of IR, this is the answer of polity. That should be the way to handle the paper 2. So this is what all about from my side. Thank you to all of you.